Believe it or not, but we're finally past the halfway mark of the 2015 legislative session. That means the real work can finally begin. And the crux of that work is setting the budget. And this year, Utah is flush with money. The latest revenue projections are $100 million higher than December's projections. What does that mean? Well, legislators now have more than $700 million of new money to spend. But even with the higher than normal revenue projections, the Senate still passed a bill that would increase state property taxes. It's an effort to help equalize funding between rich school districts and poor ones. But the bill's sponsor, Senator Aaron Osmond, says this isn't the typical Robin Hood approach, and it wouldn't take away any existing money from school districts, just some of the new money generated by the tax hike. Speaking of the Utah education system, the Senate also passed a bill that would make state school board elections partisan. Since that wasn't going far enough, it would also make the 4 largest school districts hold partisan elections too. Republican lawmakers argue that it would make the races more visible, while Democratic legislators say that it would inject too much party politics into education. In non-education related news, Republican Representative Eric Hutchings introduced a bill that would completely overhaul Utah's criminal justice system. One of the biggest changes the bill would make is lowering drug possession from a felony to a misdemeanor. It would also increase funding for substance abuse and mental health treatment programs. In the broken record department, legislators continue to discuss Medicaid expansion alternatives. In the Senate, both Governor Herbert's Healthy Utah and Senator Christensen's Frail Utah wait for debate on the floor. Meanwhile, in the House, Republicans can't come to a consensus on what they should do. And while they had been talking about forming their own plan, Majority Leader Jim Dunnigan says they've really only discussed the 2 Senate plans and the ever-popular third option of doing nothing. And finally, several of Utah's congressional delegation addressed the legislature this week. Ironically, they mostly just talked about how dysfunctional Congress is back in Washington. And that's this week's View from the Gallery. Check back next week where, you never know, they might have actually done something about Medicaid expansion.